Bila
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and a very good morning and salam Adil Fitri. Welcome to our 14th session of webinar series Captain of Industry, brought to you by Faculty of Engineering. We are initiating University Industry Collaboration during Recovery Movement Control Order RMCO to have a platform with our Captain of Industry to share their thoughts, way forward and challenges during post-COVID-19. Now we are streaming live from Facebook Faculty of Engineering. Today, we would like to welcome Yang Berbahagia Profesor Dr. Anton Adibroto, Advisor to Indonesian President Director PT Regio Industry, live from Jakarta, with his topic entitled COVID-19 Impact on RET Regional Aircraft Programs. Without further ado, I would like to invite Yang Berusaha Profesor Dato Engineer Dr. Muhammad Rafiq Dato Abdul Kadir, Dean Faculty of Engineering, to introduce our captain today. Over to you, Dato.
Thank you, Murni. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning to our speaker, Prof. Dr. Anton Adibroto. And also a very good morning to all of you watching this Captain of Industry webinar live through our Faculty of Engineering Facebook. First of all, I would like to say thank you so much to our presenter today. Despite his busy schedule, can still slot an hour with us to share with us his experience. Now, let me brief all of you a short biography of our presenter. Professor Dr. Anton Adibroto is the advisor to the Indonesian president and the director of PT Regio Aviasi Industry. He was born in Bandung in 1953. He is married with 2 children and 3 grandchildren. He obtained all his degrees, bachelor, master, and PhD at Institut Teknologi Bandung, ITB. He worked with the Indonesian aircraft industry from 1978 to 1998. He works at the Agency for the Assessment and Application of Technology from 1979 to 2004. He was director at Bandung Institute of Management from 2004 to 2006, advisor to School of Business and Management of ITB 2007 and 2009, and a professor at University Malaysia Kelantan 2009-2010. He also received the Order of Merit for Indonesian Development from the President of the Republic of Indonesia, that is Satya Lencana Pembangunan, in 1996. Without further ado, I call upon Pak Anton Adibroto for his talk. Over to you, Pak.
Thank you very much, Professor Dato Muhammad Rafi, for welcoming me and introduce me to the UTM Engineering webinar. And also thank you for my colleague, Professor Suhaimi, and of course, Pan Murni and Cik Jaya, who helping me in this seminar. And I can start with my talk in the connected with the COVID-19 impact on the Indonesian aircraft industry, actually, especially the RIT programs, which is one of the Professor Habibie's ideas before he passed away. And then he said to us that you have to make your dream come true. Next, please. Next, Pak Jaya. My talk will cover the milestone of Indonesian industrial and economic potential, and then innovation change, which is related between the university and industries, and then our problem, the formulation of Indonesian airspace. Then the phase 1 of the RAT, regional aircraft projects, the status of development, come to the economic downturn challenges due to the COVID-19. This is everybody in the world facing this space. And then what is the impact of the continuation of the RIT project? then ongoing negotiation and combination, and then I conclude my speech. Next. So as you know, Indonesia is an archipelagic countries, in a lot of states and islands, 17,000 islands, and then 260 million people, the fourth largest in population in the world, with the per capita is $11,000 US. In 2018, we have into the 16th largest economy. That's why we are in the G20, and predicted become 7th largest in 2030. If this is predicted before the coronavirus come to us. And then the spread of the Indonesia from east to west is around 3,200 miles or 5,100 kilometers. And then from the north to south is around 1,100 miles or 1,800 kilometers. So this is very big. As you can see, you plotted at the United States maps, a lot of aircraft flying in the United States. We have the same problems. Even we are more problems because 70% is water. So this is one of the challenges. Next. If we saw to the beginning of the Indonesia in 1945 to 50s, after the independence, only the Air Force is very active in the the industry, as well as the Garuda Indonesia as an airline, which is established in 1949 actually. This is 1950. Then the Air Force has the cooperation with the police aircraft industry, PZL, and then for the trainer as well as agricultural or firefighting for the forest up to the 1970s. Then come the industrial era. The Professor Habibie is there. I'm joining in this program. Actually, we have the several projects. The NC2112, 1976. This is a lot of being used by the technology for modification and for the weather to make the rain making vehicles or aircraft. Then the joint venture of the 235 new aircraft. This is success in the military, actually, not success in the commercial. And then we try to make in a commercial one, N250. The first flight is 1995, but due to the crisis, together with the N230, the jet engine, it's all canceled. Then come to Reformation era. In the Reformation era, we did nothing on aircraft. 10 years. So after that, 2013 up to now, several initiatives being processed. The government, through the aircraft industry, launched the 219 projects, and the private companies belong to Professor Habibie, launching the R80 projects. Next. You can see the economic potential. Of course, this is made before the crisis. It is predicted that the amount of passengers in 2045 will be around 3 times, from 100 million to 300 million passengers. The amount of flights also will be triple, as well as the thousand of flight hours. And the amount of aircraft, it is predicted also from 1,200 to 3,900. So this is actually the opportunity when your country become more to the mid to the upper level income, so the economy will be grow very fast. And then for Indonesia, is it is a must that you have an airplane. Next. So if we saw the innovation change in the aircraft design and development, it is start from the universities, R&D laboratories, up to the technology readiness level 1 to 5. Then from 5 to 9 is the industry sectors should catch up the result of the R&D from the university as well as from the research institute. But there is a gap there. Next, how we can to next slide, please. We can see that the academia, they have their own world, industry as well, but they have to collaborate in order not only basic technology research and research only for the demonstrations, but it has to be research become a market launching and commercialization. That's why the hand in hand with the industry, it is very important. So we have a lot of people, resources in the academia, as well as the facility, laboratory, national institute, and then there is several industries, but sometimes they have their own world, so they work on their own thought. They never collaborate. So with the COVID-19, I hope this will be more closer between the industry and academia. Next, please. Especially from the Indonesian airspace. Of course, finally, you can see the airline industry is the final, users of the products. The aircraft industry can deliver the aircraft to the airline industry if the quality and price as well efficiency is there. The aircraft industry should be supported by human resources and R&D from universities like ITB or UTM in Malaysia, and also the facilities from belong to the government mostly. And then the MRO industry, the maintenance, repair, and overhaul industry also supporting the airline industry, which is being supported also by the component industry. And finally, the airport services also have to support So this TRL 1 to 5, University Research and Innovation, should be integrated with the industry design, development, and manufacturing. And finally, operation, maintenance, and sustainment should be, that's also the big business, of course. So if you see, in Indonesia now, big coordination problems. We have to accelerate. Why? Because 10 years ago, we did nothing on 1 decade, 2000 to 2010. Now we have also budget problems. With this COVID-19, all budget reduced. So we have to more innovative how to overcome this problem. And coordination problems at all levels. So this is also, we have with this COVID-19, we always make a lot of meetings through Zoom to try to solve the problems, to make a roadmap for the Indonesian airspace. Next, please. In our timeline, the R80, from 2013 to 2017, we made already preliminary design, market analysis, business analysis, launch customer, we may have business plan. With this business plan, we try to come to the phase 2, the strategic investor, 2019 to 2026. We hope that we make a detailed design, prototype manufacturing, testing, national certification. But due to the COVID-19, it will be delayed. But also the phase 3, which is expected in 2023, I think will be delayed another 2 to 3 years to 2025 or 2026. Next. Next, please. So this is from that graph. We finished the preliminary design, and year 2018, we become the one of the national strategic project from the government, meaning the government support, but there is no fund from the government, very minimum. When we come to the Minister of Research and Innovation, even the Chinese government already come to him and then invited to work together on that. And then we come to the Chinese embassy here in Jakarta, but due to the COVID, so the mission is stopped. They cannot come here. That's somewhere in February. So, you know, the March up to now, nobody going anywhere. So during the 2019 to 2020, mostly all the ministries gave support to these programs. They granted some facilities like supercomputer usage, model manufacturing, internal testing, and hosted several meetings for the coordination. Next. So this is one of the key features of the aircraft itself. We claim it's a lower direct operating cost compared to the competitor, higher payloads, quick turnaround time, excellent passenger comfort. This has to be evaluated. Passenger comfort, because due to the COVID-19, maybe the design of interior will be changed. Yes, lower pilot workload, modern cockpit design. I don't know whether can be run by only one pilot without co-pilots. So we have to discuss about this. Structure design, proven engine, because we use the avionics as well as the engine from United States, and then easy maintenance and high dispatch reliability. Next. This is the target. We made the studies before COVID-19. So in year 2015 to 2035, we forecast the 1,715 aircraft in the region of Southeast Asia, and 90 to 226, 1,147. So this will be replacing existing ATR 72, which is a lot of, I think around 100 planes are used by the airline in Indonesia. Next. This is some configurations. You can see the cabin cross section is almost the same, but the product variant from 80 passengers, 76 to 90 passengers, this must be evaluated, because maybe this, what is that? It can be 4 people in a row, maybe only 2 people in the row. So can you accommodate only half of it? Can you still make money? This is the challenges for the airlines. Even though also the customers, you see, Nam Air, we have the letter of intent in September 2013. Calstar, the aviation is not there anymore. Trigana Air and the other Aviastars, we have to check whether they are still exist or not. But I know Nam Air is still there, but the needs and of the amount of the aircraft we have to check. Next, please. The economic downturn due to the COVID-19 will take 5 to 6 years for the airline industries. It's not, and this is also predicted only 80% from the situation before the COVID-19. Cannot be 100% anymore. So you can imagine very huge changes. So we also have to discuss a new program with the strategic investor, update the customer letter of intent, revise new business plan. Maybe we have to collaborate with the competitors. Indonesia should collaborate with several existing players in facing global competitions due to very with the competitions, and then internationalize the customer as well as the strategic investor. Next, please. So the impact, the continuation of the project. Everybody knows now. After the coronavirus disease, the project will delay. Till when? We don't know yet. We expected next year will be bright again. We scheduled to have a meeting with the Ilyushin from Russia in the Singapore Air Show in February 2020, but it's cancelled. Nobody come to the exhibitions. We hope will be rescheduled to August this year. Government budget for 2020 also reallocated to all research development connected with the COVID-19 problems. So we forgot about the airplane project first. Yeah, the support of government also will be delayed to next year's. It is so this year's there is no even small budget from the government. There is no that. So we have to find ourselves. The current issue is the R80 will be not come to the National Strategic Plan anymore. Why? Because they will be finished beyond 2024, and the government is finished. Okay, this is the challenges that we have to deal with the Chinese companies. Usually they want to have to play dominant role. We have to renegotiate in Russia, and then support from the government when the foreign investor coming. National budget will be decreased, of course, and then we have to make a new step to reaffirming the clients. Next, please. Ongoing negotiation and recommendation. So here we already signing MOU with Batam Authority and proposing Batam Aerospark for final assembly facilities of R80. Why? Because our neighbor Singapore have the big MRO at Seletar, and our neighbor Malaysia have the big MRO at Sepang. So they are already produce billion of US dollar, a lot of parts, component support for airplane. So we are nearer to the industry that can support us to become more efficient. Several countries offers cooperation, such as China, India, and Russia. China, the producer of Xi'an M700, exactly the same type of R80 airplane. Maybe if we offer them, and then they said, "You just sit, let's me do the work." So this is the challenges. India willing to develop together with National Aerospace Laboratory of India, so start new things. But Ilyushin, they are willing to sign MOU because they have an airplane over Ilyushin 114-300, 68 passengers, to be assembled here in Indonesia. But they don't have any certification. But we asked them to ask the certification from EASA, European standard, and using the avionic as well as engine from common producer or manufacturer, not from China or Russia. Even M700 from China, they use avionic from United States or France, Safran, and then they use the engine of Pratt Whitney 150 Xi'an M700. Even Chinese already thinks that for the reliability, they still rely on the new what is that product that reliable in the world. So, and then we assume the government support will be minimum, then the international collaboration will be more realistic, include Asian countries, especially Malaysia. Why? We have both the UTM and Indonesia have the cooperation in 1995 and 2001 to build the UTM LST. You can see in the pictures. Next, please. This is the wind tunnel that we run so many hours with the aircraft and the CFD. We for the computational fluid dynamics being run, and then we will see the commonality of them, and then in agreement for the next flight test, we can estimate from this two results. Next. This is the just memorization with Professor Suhaimi and Shakir to go to the Chinese facility in Mianyang near Chengdu in Sichuan province in 1996, I think. Next. Next, please. So this is the Indonesian low speed tunnel, 4x3 meters, which is the with the speed of up to 90 meters per second maximum, and you can simulate takeoff and landing of an aircraft. And then next, also the UTM low speed wind tunnel. We are very proud with this also, because we become an advisor to team of UTM, and the wind tunnel is a world-class standard. You can see that's no doubt about it. So we are both very happy with the results. So that's why we should cooperate more in the future. Next. So after I can give my conclusions here. After 5 years Indonesian independence, the late Marshal Nurtanio from 50 to 70 produced several aircraft used for the agriculture and flight trainer. They are the first generations were aged in from 74 to 91 years old. They born on the 1928 to 45. And then second generation is boomer age. Returning Pak Habibie is come to Indonesia in 1975, 2000. The second generation, I was baby boomers here. Pak Habibie is actually the first generations in the term of age here. So second generation is 55 to 73. And the 2010, we start again with 219 design and construct the aircraft, then make a first flight in 2075. So after 22 years, the first flight was M250 in 1995, we can produce another airplanes. We will be certified this year. So one generation is lost, 22 years. So this is very, very crucial for us. Then for the future, the development of Air 80, it will be the next generations who will the millennial age then, who born in 81 to 96. So their age is 23 to 38 now, will be the future generation. But maybe we have to discuss what kind of type of an airplane, because maybe in the future will be maybe hybrid with the electric motor for the power plant. But finally, the key success factor is the collaborations between countries in creating wealth. So we hope with our neighbor, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Philippines, we can create together the plane. We also have the market together. So I think that's my final presentations. Please the question and answer if there will be some questions. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam, Pak Anton. Thank you very much, Pak Anton.
Okay.
Thank you again for Pak Anton for your insightful and inspiring sharing with us. Despite of your busy schedule, you are giving your precious time with us. Now we are waiting for Q&A session. We are going to proceed with Q&A session. This is from Rahmat Shazi. The question, Prof, what was the single biggest technical and one business lesson from the N250?
Okay, I did answer directly. Okay, yes. Pak Rahmat Shazi, technical issues we made the first prototype, which is different than the second prototype. The second prototype is modifications. The second prototype, third prototype, and fourth prototype will be the one that will certified. The first one is only for first flight, so that's different animal actually. And was one the other technicals. This is rather sensitive. At the time we designed the plane, the tail is lower tail, it's not a T-tail, yeah. But when we tested at the wind tunnels, because Professor Habibie want to have more speed than the competitor, we increase the speed and we change the blades. What happened? The control system is not active. So meaning the turbulence come to hit to the low tails. That's why we move it to the T-tails. This is take times. 6 months to 1 year. We have to redesign because the center of gravity is changed. Everything is changed. The weight also is changed. So this is the biggest technical experience that we learn a lot from this. I think that's I hope it's answer your question.
All right. So, okay, I'm also welcoming next questions from our viewers today. Okay, not so far. Okay, what's the difference? Okay, from my point of view, okay, my question is how far Pak Anton sees the future of aviation industry after COVID-19?
Yeah, this is very good questions. We are all questioning now. Some manufacturer already start with the electric motor aircraft, but the capacity is still small. The capacity. Maybe we have to hybrid like a car, but please be careful. A car, there is no risk. If the car is the engine is off, you are safe. You are still on the ground. But in the air, it's different. If the hybrid system is not function, it will be disaster then. Yeah. So that's one of the interesting. I don't know whether using the solar panel and so on. It's still the question is how many people will be bring together. But nowadays, big airplane become a problem. They bring a lot of people. When one of them are positive COVID-19, so all the plane, when they are landed, they have a problem. There is just in Indonesia, from Jakarta, the flight from Jakarta, people, passenger all checked, all negative. But when landed in Padang, after 2 hours flight, being checked, there is one positive. So they check all the others. So what happened with the others? Maybe the virus is there. So this is the big question: how to avoid from the virus while you sit healthy people in the during the flight. This is the one of the issues. Not only on the plane, but in the train also in Indonesia now is only from 4 seat rows, only 2 people can sit. So this is also we have to redesign maybe the interiors. That's a challenge.
Okay. All right. Next questions also about aerospace industry, about human capital development in aerospace in Indonesia. How about that?
Yeah, we never stop develop the human capitals.
Okay.
But the problem is after you graduate, you try to find a job. Not enough for the graduates from aircraft industries or aircraft programs still remain in the aircraft or aircraft environment, airline, MRO, or you name it, the component and so on. That's why a lot of people also go to the oil and gas. Now oil and gas also tumbling down. So now I think a lot of the graduate going to the IT sectors, information technology. So everybody using IT. Or some of people now with the COVID-19, or graduate producing the what is that? Ventilator, producing all robotic to replace nurse in the hospital, for instance. This kind of things. They try to make a modification after they graduate. So it's a pity, of course, but that's fact of life.
Okay, thank you, Pak Anton. Right, this is question from Dr. Ainul Lutfi. What do you think of the future of flying cars, of personal air mobility solutions as opposed to airliners?
Yes.
Of course, your good
Halo.
friend, Pak Anton.
Yeah. Salam Pak Ainul Lutfi. Apa kabar, Pak? So you still with your camera, I think. So this is also one of the discussion here in Indonesia. The problem is, who will regulate? Who is the police of the flying cars? Because they are all flying everywhere. So, but somebody has to regulate as what is that? As a cars in the road. Somebody has there's a traffic light and so on. So flying cars, is there any traffic light for that? So this is new for us, but also still new also in the developed countries. It is good. Let's say you can use go send your food from other, as long as you put in the GPS your location, and then they will put in your positions. That's for the small things can be done, but for big things, let's say big carrier, that's difficult. People also can use this kind of flying cars. Let's say they try in Dubai or Qatar. You can using to this from your hotel, go to the airport with these flying cars, but can accommodate only 2 or 4 persons maybe maximum. But if it's too many, like in the crowded area, if too many, so who will what is that? Arrange all the traffic. This is our challenge. It's not so easy, not so difficult making a flying cars, but regulations has to be discussed. When you from Johor Bahru going to Singapore, and then from Singapore going to Johor Bahru, so who will be guaranteed can make the guarantee that they will not clash in the middle of the road, in the middle of the air. Thank you.
Right. Okay. What is the best mechanism for effective collaboration between university and industry, policy, funding, and etc.? What do you think, Pak Anton?
Yeah, mostly the university or research institute donated or grant or funded by the government. Aircraft industry, they are not granted by the government, so they have to find business-to-business activities. It is good if those being created by the university, at the end, it will be commercialized by somebody. Let's say somebody in the university designing the drone, for instance. So the user of the drone, who? One of the logistic operator. They use the drone. So, but they will think, is it more efficient if you use drone compared to other mode of transportation? This is the challenge. Yeah. If it is very close, maybe you can do that. But if it is too long, so maybe your drone lost somewhere, so you cannot control it. That's a problem, big problem.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. This is about more technical questions. Well, from Prof. Shuhaimi from Backstage. certification process of aircraft using US or Europe base? I think this is for
The
Indonesia.
certification, yeah. The
Certification process.
Yeah. First, the type certification now that we are in process, Indonesian local certification. So
Indonesian local.
yeah, the plane can fly, can be used. But if you want to sell abroad, we have to have at least one of international. There is two international, European standard and FAA, American standard. American standard usually is difficult. Okay, European standard, it's more cooperative. That's why if we want to make a cooperation, let's say with Russia, we ask them both to take the at least European standard. Otherwise, we cannot sell. We cannot sell to Philippines. We cannot sell to Malaysia, to Thailand. It will be difficulties. So if we think region, so it has to be international standard, which is what is that? Approved by the authority in the other countries.
Okay.
EASA is very important. European standard.
Oh, European standard. All right. Thanks, Prof. Okay, this is okay. Ali Mukhtar, what is the biggest challenge university industry collaboration?
Yeah.
Okay, Banten.
The biggest challenge is usually the university or research institute people. They are more like hobby to develop something or to design something. They never think about how to commercialize these things in the future. But I also agree, if you think commercialize, maybe you want to start do something. That's why, let's say, from 100 innovation, maybe only 2 or 3 can become commercial. It's good. It's kind of practice your logic in making something. So this is very important. So the technology readiness level also you have to see between the university and industry. If you see in my slide that there has to be collaborations. Yeah, I agree with that. But in the collaboration, everybody should try to understand the others. University try to understand the industry. Let's say efficiency, economical, and so on. The industry also should understand. University is more innovation, creativity. You cannot accommodate all, but some of them maybe can be commercial. That's the best.
All right. Yep. We are trying our best to close the gap and make it more commercialized. All right. Then from Professor Ida Idayu Muhammad. Dear Prof, could you brief about the capacity of amphibian aircraft in Indonesia, the current and future operation plan, especially for local and regional transportation efficiency?
Okay, this is Ida Idayu Muhammad. Yeah, thank you. This is quite a big issue in Indonesia now. You see, we have making the kind of feasibility study in 1980s with Dornier from Germany. Is it feasible to have the amphibian plane in Indonesia? And then, what is the biggest challenges? It is logistic and environment. I put like this: logistic is Indonesia is very big. Who will put those 2 drums of gasoline over there to accommodate refueling for this plane? Because very remote area. That is one challenge. Different with in Canada. In Canada, from this side of the lakes to the other side of the lakes, a lot of access of providing logistics for the plane. Yeah, that's one of the challenges. And then even the Dornier finally, if we saw to the presentation of Mr. Naquib from Science Aerospace last week, said it is bought all by Chinese, move all the factories there. how many million US dollar. But it's moved nothing. And then they also use only for local use there over there in the lake of the whole of China. Lakes now is talking on environment. The second one, yeah. Lake is more still the water. In Indonesia is the wave is very high, especially in the southern, can be 2 meters high. You cannot land it in this kind of area. You should find the the right time to land it in this. You can land it maybe after that the wave is going up, so you cannot take off also. This is the big challenges, yeah. What else? The M219, the designed and manufactured by the aircraft industry Indonesian. They have the amphibious type nowadays on its way, but not yet being tested. Why? I can open here that because the design of the amphibian equipment, the weight maybe is the same with the plane. So the payload will be less then. So this is also try to find new materials which is lighter but stronger in facing the corrosive matters from the sea. That's the challenge. So this is I know that the some of the hotels in the remote area, why don't provide this amphibian flight? I think, let's say, if that there is 100 market of a plane in Indonesia, maybe only 10 amphibian. It's not so much, not so much. Even we are 70% of water, but our water is, the wave is very high, so you cannot land it. That's a big challenges from Indonesia.
All right, great. Thank you, Pak Anton. Questions from Professor Ida was the last question for today. Then we believe that it would benefit to our students, our staff, our alumni, and our community as well. Our session today, and I would like to invite Yang Berusaha Professor Engineer Dr. Suhaimi Mansor, our Assistant Dean Global, Faculty of Engineering, for be with us today, and also okay, over to you, Professor Suhaimi, for your last for your few words.
Thank you, Muni, for becoming our undisputed MC. Actually, she started become the MC till now, so she keep on her good performance. Thank you, Muni. Yeah. And thank you so much to Pak Anton, Prof. Dr. Anton, for spending your time from Indonesia, broadcast live here in Malaysia. So I know that UTM is very close to you in your heart. Hopefully we would like to see you again over here, maybe after COVID, or we come down under the COVID situation. Hope to see you again. Yeah. So your valuable time, your experience, beside your busy schedule, thank you so much. So I have to replace Dean for a while because he has something to do. Yeah. So I hope we can continue working together and strengthen our collaboration, but yeah, especially on the aircraft design, wind tunnel, and I know that there's a lot of system integration, yeah, in the aircraft design. Aircraft is just a case study, but there's a lot of technology involved in designing the aircraft. So we would like that it's a multidiscipline project where we not just involved with the aeronautical or aerospace engineering only, but we would like to collaborate with other field of engineering, because now we are under roof, what we call it UTM engineering, Pak Anton. So all the engineering faculty before, we combine together with the computing, become the biggest faculty in UTM. So then we have a good synergy hopefully we can work together, then we can utilize all the facility expertise within UTM. Pak Anton, yeah.
Okay.
So I hope that maybe we can have a good link with the ITB, yeah, ATB, yeah, yeah, because they have very good track record, yeah. So thank you so much again, and to all the viewers, thank you so much for joining our program, and don't forget to like and share our webinar series. So I don't know where should I put it. This is like, yeah. This is share. Yeah, okay. So thanks to all. So hopefully this is not the last one, because we have a series of webinar coming soon. Okay, and thank you so much, and pass to you, Muni. Hello.